Hello, and welcome to our new shooter briefing. GADPA is a shooting sport based on defensive pistol, and it's a great way to have fun and also practice your gun handling skills. It's something that must be done safely. In this video, we're not going to cover the entire rule book. We're just going to introduce you to our safety rules so that you can get through your first match safely and teach you some lingo so that you don't get bogged down with procedural penalties.
As a reminder, all GADPA matches are on a cold range. And what this means is that when you're not shooting your gun, it will be completely unloaded and in your holster. That is, the magazine out, the chamber empty, the slide down or cylinder closed, and the hammer or striker down. There is to be no gun handling anywhere within any of the ranges or stages unless you're under the direct supervision of a safety officer or in a safe area. We have safe areas designated at each range. You are not allowed to have any ammunition while you're in a safe area. If you need to handle your gun for any reason, please notify a safety officer. For our indoor matches, ammunition can be handled in the booths behind the stage.
Now we are going to go over the 4 gun handling safety rules that were created by Colonel Jeff Cooper, and they're also in our rule book. Number 1, treat all guns as though they are loaded at all times. Number 2, never point your muzzle at anything you are not willing to destroy. Number 3, keep your finger off the trigger until your sights are on your target. And number 4, be sure of your target and what is behind it.
Now we're going to go over the range commands you'd hear during a typical stage to get you into and out of a stage safely. The first command you're going to hear the safety officer say is, range is going hot, eyes and ears. The safety officer is going to check and make sure everyone has their ears on and their eyes on. As the shooter, the next command you're going to hear me say is, load and make ready. At that point, you're going to take out your pistol, take out your mag, and load your gun. And when you're done, reholster it. The next command you're going to hear the safety officer say is shooter ready. At this point, you get yourself mentally ready for the stage and either give a nod or some kind of a verbal cue to the SO you're ready to go. Shooter ready? Stand by. The next command is stand by, and that is letting you know that the buzzer's getting ready to go off. Okay, when you're done, finished shooting the stage, the next command you're going to hear the safety officer say, and wait till they actually say this, is unload and show me clear. At that point, you're going to take the mag out, strip out the live round, show the safety officer an empty chamber, and then the safety officer will say, slide down, press the trigger, and holster it. And those are the steps to take you through starting a stage and ending a stage. So now we're going to do it in full time. Okay? Range is going hot, eyes and ears. Shooter, load and make ready. Shooter ready? Shooter's ready. Stand by. Okay, if shooter's finished, unload and show me clear. Slide forward, press the trigger, and holster it. Range is clear. One of the aspects of defensive shooting is shooting from concealment. It's based on using your pistol for self-defense or for carrying concealed in public. One of the issues to deal with when drawing from concealment is to make sure you clear your garment so you can safely draw and reholster the pistol. We'll now demonstrate what this looks like. Go ahead and draw. And reholster. Notice we deliberately clear the garment when we do that. And it's very important. Never use the pistol to sweep the garment back and pointing at yourself. Next, we'll show you what it looks like if you had an untucked shirt. So go ahead and take your vest off. Go ahead and untuck. Okay. Show me a clean draw. And reholster it.
Now we're going to go over some other commands, warnings, and lingo that you may hear during a match. You may hear finger. This means that your finger is inside the trigger guard when it shouldn't be. An example may be during reloading or while moving and you're not engaging targets. Remember, your finger should only be on the trigger when your sights are on the target and you are ready to fire. Finger! Muzzle is another warning you may hear. That means that your muzzle is pointed in an unsafe direction and that you need to get it pointed back downrange. This could be at the ceiling or pointed at your feet or back towards the crowd. Muzzle! Keep your muzzle pointed downrange toward the backstop or berm, especially when you hear muzzle. It means get the gun pointed back in a safe direction. Another command that you may hear during a GADPA course of fire is stop. If you hear stop, get your finger off the trigger, stay pointed in a safe direction, and wait for another command. Basically just freeze. It may not be anything you've done, but something has happened and the SO needs you to stop shooting. Remember, repeated finger and muzzle calls can earn you a disqualification.
So now let's talk about cover. GADPA uses fault lines to define adequate cover. So as long as you're in a position of cover during a stage and your foot is inside the fault line without touching it, you're deemed behind cover. So let's look at some examples. Red fault lines indicate a position of cover where all visible targets must be engaged. When engaging targets from a red fault line, engage them slicing the pie. This means taking the outward target first and working your way inward. Yellow fault lines indicate a location where the shooter has a choice. Option 1, they can stay behind cover and engage all targets slicing the pie as if it were a red fault line. Option 2, they can immediately bypass the fault line and engage all targets in any order while moving in the open. Or the third option is a combination of the two, static behind cover and out in the open.
Sometimes you'll be required to shoot while moving. It's imperative that you maintain good safety discipline while doing so. That includes keeping your muzzle pointed safely downrange and taking your finger off the trigger if you're not actively engaging targets. Do not turn up range while moving.
Now we're going to talk about the different divisions that you can compete in within GADPA. First, there's concealed carry. And these are your typical guns that you buy over the counter without any modifications. They must be semi-automatic in nature and 9mm caliber or larger. In concealed carry, only 35 rounds can be carried into the stage and loaded out how the shooter sees fit. However, the gun can be started with no more than 18 rounds. Next, we have single stack, which is for our 1911 pattern pistols with a single stack magazine, but they can be 9mm caliber or larger. And again, in single stack, only 35 rounds can be carried into the stage, loaded out how the shooter sees fit. However, there are different rules about the starting capacities on whether or not you're minor power factor or major power factor. Consult the rule book for those numbers. Next, we have revolver, which covers any swing out style revolver that would be made for everyday use. You can use either speed loaders or moon clips in revolver division, and it must be 38 special caliber or larger. In revolver, only 36 rounds can be carried into a stage, and the gun can be loaded with no more than 8 rounds to start the stage. For single stack, concealed carry, and revolver, concealment garment is required.
Next, we have competition and open divisions. In these divisions, concealment is not required. The competition division is intended for those competing with equipment that would not be used for day-to-day use or duty gear. They must be semi-automatic and 9mm or larger in caliber. The open division is for highly modified race guns. Please refer to the rulebook for the allowed modifications. In competition and open, the shooter can carry as many rounds as they see fit with as many magazines as they desire.
So now we're going to explain how to score a GADPA target. We will focus on a practical approach to scoring and will describe everything in short, simple terms. For specifics, please refer to the rulebook. GADPA matches use a time plus system. Simply put, this means that your match score is based on your total time. This is calculated from your raw time plus the time converted from points down on each target plus any penalties. Each point down on a target equals half of a second. The GADPA target is divided into 3 scoring zones. The first scoring zone is called the down zero, and it consists of a head circle, spinal column, and 2 center mass circles depending on your power factor. Check the scoring section of the rulebook if you're unsure of your power factor. What you need to know is that minor power factor will use the small circle for down zero, and major power factor will use the large one. Down zero is scored at 0 points per shot, and only 1 shot is scored. Again, you can take as many shots on the target as you feel is necessary, but your best shot is where we start the scoring. The second scoring zone is called down one, and it consists of the outside of the head circle, inside the head box, and the lung area surrounding the center mass circles. This zone is scored at 1 point per shot, and only 1 shot is scored in the head box, but 2 shots are scored in the lung zone. Again, the head box outside the circle is down 1 with only 1 shot scored, The lung area is scored using the best 2 shots at 1 point per shot. The third scoring zone is called down 2, and it is scored at 2 points per shot. This zone takes up the rest of the target. In this zone, your best 3 shots are scored. Misses on a target are scored at 5 points each. Shots that touch a line are scored to benefit the shooter. In GADPA, there is no set required number of shots to be fired on each target. How many times the target is shot is completely up to the shooter. If your best hit is anywhere in the head or the down 0 zone of the body, only that 1 shot is scored. The other shots are ignored. If your best hit is anywhere in the down 1 zone, your best 2 shots are scored. If your best hit is anywhere in the down 2 zone, your best 3 shots are scored. A GADPA no-shoot target is designated with a red X across the body, and just like a threat target, is scored based on the most damaging hit. A 3-second no-shoot penalty is in the down 2 zone, a 5-second no-shoot penalty is in the down 1 zone, and a 10-second no-shoot penalty is in the down 0 zone, including the major circle. Only the single most damaging hit counts, even if you have many hits on the no-shoot.
That's a lot of information to take in. Listen, we really appreciate you checking out the Great American Defensive Pistol Association. We want you to have a really good time, but we also want you to understand that this is a 100% volunteer sport. So when we call for people to help pace targets, please help pace and get involved to keep the pace of the match up. Please help us break things down and set things up. It'll help your match director run the match a lot smoother so we can get a lot more stages in. But here's the most important thing. Leave your ego at the door. It has no place in this form of shooting. This is your first match with us, and we don't know how safe or unsafe you are. You can't fix safety. Everything else, the rules, the scoring, procedurals, penalties, we can fix that. But we need to keep the match safe. So if you're called out for being unsafe, take the advice. Keep your muzzle down range, and don't forget to have fun.